You know what's ironic? A cardiologist forgetting to take care of their own heart, emotionally speaking, of course. Imagine a chef who's an expert at whipping up nutritious meals, yet only feasts on junk food. Or picture a fitness trainer who can make you sweat like a sinner in church, but doesn't lift a finger to exercise themselves. Sounds a bit absurd, doesn't it? Well, here's another one to add to the mix. Think about healthcare professionals. These are the people we trust with our lives, the people who patch us up and make us better, the guardians of our well-being. Yet these healers, these life preservers, often forget to preserve their own mental health. It's like a lifeguard who's great at saving others from drowning, but forgets to come up for air themselves. They're submerged in the deep waters of stress, anxiety, and burnout, gasping for a breath of relaxation, a glimmer of peace. Don't get me wrong, there's a certain nobility in their sacrifice. They're so busy healing others that they forget to heal themselves. But there's also a tragic irony to it. It's like a superhero who saves the world but can't save themselves. The mental health of healthcare professionals is an issue that's often swept under the rug. It's the elephant in the room that everyone sees, but no one talks about. But it's high time we lifted the lid off this pressure cooker and let the steam out. We need to remember that doctors, nurses, therapists, and all other healthcare professionals are human beings too, with their own struggles and vulnerabilities. They're not invincible, they're not immune to stress or depression or anxiety, they're not robots programmed to heal without feeling. So it's time we paid attention to the mental health of our healers. It's time we gave them the care and support they so selflessly give to others. After all, they say you can't pour from an empty cup. So, let's dive deep into the mind of the healer, shall we? Scene script. Picture two doctors. One is a chirpy morning person and the other, well, let's just say he's not a fan of mornings or people before coffee. Meet Dr. Sunshine, the epitome of morning energy. She's the one you can count on to greet you with a cheery good morning. Before the sun even dares to peek over the horizon, you'd think she runs on solar power, the way she's always buzzing around, bright and early. But what you don't see is the clawing anxiety that keeps her awake at night, the relentless worry that she's not doing enough, the constant fear of making a mistake. And so she masks her anxious thoughts with a radiant smile because she believes that a doctor should always be strong for their patients. On the other side of the coin, we have Dr. Night Owl. He's the one who's always got a cup of coffee in his hand, mumbling something about mornings being a cruel joke of nature. He's brilliant, no doubt, but he's also perpetually tired. He's mastered the art of functioning on minimal sleep, but what you don't see is the insidious depression that saps his energy, the numbing sadness that keeps him awake until the early hours of the morning. He's got a knack for making everyone laugh with his dry sarcasm, but it's just his way of hiding the pain. These two doctors, as different as day and night, are both fighting invisible battles of their own. They're not alone either. They're part of a larger narrative that's often overlooked, the mental health struggles of healthcare professionals. Dr. Sunshine's anxiety is a common issue in the medical field, where the stakes are high and the pressure is relentless. It's not just about making a mistake, but about the potential impact of that mistake on a patient's life. It's a heavy burden to bear, and it can lead to constant self-doubt and fear of failure. Dr. Night Owl's depression is also a familiar tale. The long hours, the emotional toll of dealing with sickness and death, the isolation that can come from being so consumed by your work, all these factors can contribute to feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and exhaustion. And yet, these doctors, just like many others, keep going. They put on their white coats, they put on their brave faces, and they do their best to heal others, even when they themselves are hurting. In the end, it's important to remember that doctors are humans too. They're not immune to mental health issues, and they deserve the same care and compassion that they extend to their patients. It's time we start acknowledging and addressing the mental health struggles of our healthcare professionals. See, mental health doesn't discriminate, not even against the morning person. Ever heard of the saying, the worst wounds are the ones we can't see? It's a phrase that carries a lot of weight, especially when we're talking about emotional and psychological stress. These invisible wounds, they're not something we can stitch up or put a bandage on, and yet they're a daily reality for many healthcare professionals. Imagine being a healthcare worker right in the heart of a busy hospital. The pressure is constant, the stakes are high, and the emotional toll is often overlooked. It's like being in a boxing ring, except the opponent is invisible and the fight never really ends. Now let's delve into some science to back this up. A study published in the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine found that healthcare professionals were 30% more likely to suffer from major depressive disorder compared to the general population. 30%. That's nearly 1 in 3. Another research piece, this time from the Journal of Clinical Psychology, showed that healthcare workers are often subject to high levels of emotional exhaustion, job dissatisfaction, and a sense of depersonalization. It's a cocktail of stress and anxiety that doesn't just affect the individual, but also the quality of care they're able to provide. These studies aren't just numbers on a page, they're a reflection of the real human struggle that these professionals face every day. They're a testament to the invisible wounds that healthcare workers carry with them, quietly, often without anyone else knowing. And here's the kicker. These are the people we depend on to heal us. They're the ones on the front line, battling against disease and injury, all while carrying their own unseen burdens. It's a paradoxical situation that's as heartbreaking as it is ironic. So, keep in mind, next time you interact with a healthcare professional, they could be carrying these invisible wounds. They're not just healers, but human beings, with their own struggles and stresses. Those invisible wounds, they're real and they hurt. Imagine juggling flaming chainsaws while riding a unicycle. That's what maintaining mental health in healthcare can feel like. In this high-stakes circus of life, keeping our mental well-being in check can feel like a daring feat. But believe it or not, the key to this act is striking a balance. Yes, balance. It's like walking a tightrope. You lean too much on one side and you risk falling. Just like in a circus, in life too, balance can be the difference between a magnificent spectacle and a disastrous tumble. Let's consider a case study. Dr. Smith, a seasoned healthcare professional. He's a wizard in the operating room, saving lives left and right, but his magic seems to dwindle when he steps out of the hospital. Working long hours, constantly on call, he barely has time for his family, let alone himself. The result? His performance starts to dip and his mental health begins to suffer. Now, picture Dr. Jones. She's just as skilled as Dr. Smith. But there's a difference. She makes it a point to leave the hospital at a reasonable hour. She carves out time for her hobbies, her family, and most importantly, herself. She takes care of her mental health, and it shows. Not only is she happier and more relaxed, but her performance at work is also stellar. She proves that it's not about how much time you spend working, but how well you balance your work with your life. So, how do we perform this balancing act? It's not about juggling more, it's about juggling better. It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing and understanding that it's okay to take a break. It's about realizing that you can't pour from an empty cup and that taking care of your mental health isn't selfish, it's necessary. The circus of life doesn't have to be a perilous act. With the right balance, it can be an exhilarating performance, a dance of harmony between work and leisure, stress and relaxation, giving and receiving. Balance! It's not just for acrobats, folks. It's for every one of us, especially those in the healthcare profession. It's the secret to maintaining our mental health and ultimately our happiness. Now that we've painted a pretty grim picture, let's switch gears and talk about hope. The road to recovery is not a solitary path, nor is it a one-size-fits-all approach. It's a journey that varies from person to person, and it's paved with different strategies that can lead to improved mental health among healthcare professionals. Take, for instance, the case of Dr. Resilient. She was a surgeon who found herself spiraling into a state of chronic stress and burnout. But instead of succumbing to the pressure, she decided to take a step back. She began implementing mindfulness and meditation into her daily routine, a practical approach that allowed her to regain a sense of calm amidst the storm. Then there's the story of Dr. Balance, a pediatrician who found himself constantly juggling between his personal and professional life. He realized that the key to maintaining his mental health was a work-life balance. He started delegating tasks and setting boundaries. He spent more time with his family and pursued his hobbies. This shift in his lifestyle not only improved his mental well-being, but also enhanced his professional performance. Of course, there's no denying the beneficial role of professional help. Dr. Therapy, a psychiatrist, recognized her own signs of depression and sought help from a fellow psychiatrist. She understood that it's okay to ask for help, and her decision to do so led to her recovery and a stronger outlook on mental health. These strategies may seem simple, but they are profound. They are testament to the fact that the road to recovery is attainable. It's about acknowledging the problem, seeking help, incorporating self-care, and maintaining a balanced life. The journey to mental health is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's about understanding that it's okay to have bad days, to feel overwhelmed and to struggle. It's about embracing the fact that even the strongest among us need help sometimes. Remember, it's okay not to be okay, but it's even better to do something about it. We've covered a lot today, so let's wrap it up in a neat little package. Firstly, we dove into the irony of the healer's struggle, where we found that those who devote their lives to healing others often neglect their own mental well-being. It's like a chef who's so busy cooking for others that they forget to eat themselves. But remember, folks, you can't pour from an empty cup. Next, we told the tale of two doctors, our very own Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, who showed us that even the strongest among us can buckle under the weight of mental health issues. It's not about being weak or strong, it's about being human. And humans, my dear friends, are not robots, no matter how much coffee we consume. Then we explored the invisible wounds, those mental scars that don't show up on X-rays or MRIs. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Like that sock you lost in the laundry, it exists, and it's causing more problems than you think. We then balanced on the tightrope of mental health with the balancing act, where we understood that maintaining our mental health is a constant balancing act, like trying to walk a tightrope while juggling flaming swords. It's tricky, but not impossible, and remember, it's okay to drop a sword or two along the way. Finally, we journeyed down the road to recovery, where we learned that it's not a sprint, but a marathon. It's not about who gets there first, but who stays the course. Like a turtle in a race against a hare, slow and steady wins the race. And with that, we've diagnosed our problem, prescribed a solution, and hopefully given you a few laughs along the way. Until next time, take care of your mental health.